Hola, and welcome back to another session of character modeling with me, S'more. This week we're going to get back into Marvelous Designer because I think it's long overdue that we took a look at this jacket. It can look intimidating when you at first, but don't worry, we start with the basics, we'll break it down, it'll be nice and easy.
Alright, so with any project, what you want to do is start with the big shapes and then slowly whittle it down to something more complicated. So initially all we want to do is block in some simple, rectangles that are approximately the right dimension. I know that I want two pieces for the front with a zipper down the center and maybe one piece for the back. So that's what we're going to start by creating. So here we've got a little rectangle and we'll split it to make a neckline. And what you'll notice what I'm not going to put any curves. I'm going to keep this thing as simple as possible. So initially I'm going to keep all the line segments straight. Split this one again to create a hole for the arm, and we'll pull the shoulder down a little bit. I know I'll at least want a little bit of a slant to the shoulder and give the armpit a little bit more space. Alright, so that's our front lapel. I'll call it, well, it's not technically called the lapel, but that'll be our front piece. And we're moving around the back now. Make a nice wide piece. So I'm just moving the front piece out of the way so I can now imagine what the back shape should be. And for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to create half and mirror it. So we'll unfold it once I've got the basic shape. Again, splitting it for the neck. And what I'm doing is I'm checking the length of these line segments and then matching them when I split them, typing in the values from the other pattern so that they'll stitch up nicely at the end. So now we have two equal length line segments that will stitch together nicely. Just trying to visualize the neckline from the back. And here we go. Now we can unfold this thing. Have a nice symmetrical pattern. And we'll go back and forth on these things. We're roughing in the shape right now, so it's quite possible we might delete a few points, redo some things. But there we go. There's our back. Switching back to the front. And I'm copying and mirror paste the front piece there. So again, we've got some nice symmetrical shapes. So now we're going to switch to the sewing tool. It's going to start coming together now. This is the exciting part. Sew these segments. Sometimes it's hard to visualize where the segments are supposed to go from and to. Definitely helps to look at it updating in the 3D port as well. Now let's see what happens when we run a sim on this. I'm quite happy with that. And you can see that is a very simple shape. Nothing fancy yet. The next step is going to be to adjust these curves so it fits a little better.
So here's a couple of examples of patterns I've downloaded off the internet. And the common feature, this one I like because it's very simple, it breaks it down nicely. The sleeve hole, and this represents the sleeve. These are common curves that you'll see in many patterns. So here's another example, more sophisticated, but if you look, same kind of curvature for the sleeve hole and the sleeve. So we're going to create these curves. The top point here, the high point represents the top of the shoulder, and the low point represents the armpit. So back to Marvelous Designer, and we're going to recreate this using the Edit Curvature tool. Alright, so the first thing we'll do is just select the edge for the armhole, switch to the Edit Curvature tool, and I'm going to just kind of roughly tweak the curve, you know, using the example pattern as a guide. I'm eyeballing. The next thing I'm going to do is copy our pattern, and then I'm going to use symmetric paste this time, because with symmetric paste, what we do to the parent side is replicated on the child side, so that just makes life a lot easier. Alright, so we're going to repeat the process with the neck, grabbing that line segment using the Edit Curvature tool to tweak it, and watching it update in the 3D viewport here, so you quickly, right away, you see, you know, if it's going to work. Repeat the process for the back armholes. And there you go. Okay, a little bit more back and forth, tweaking those curves, testing the results with the sim button until we get what we like. Now I'll adjust the bottom of the jacket just so it's a little bit more horizontal, and we're left with a bit of a beak here. What we really want is this thing to conform to her torso there, and then later on we'll add an extra strip at the bottom to kind of add length to the jacket. But we want it to be tapering it, and the way we can do that is add what's called a dart, and it's pretty easy. All you need to do is add a little wedge to the material. And as you can see in this example here, here's where they're about to add darts to the material itself. They're planning it. Here's an example of a dart here being cut into some material. When you sew these two pieces together, it's going to pull the material together. Obviously, and you can imagine the result will be tighter. It will be, less material pulled together. We'll be able to get that taper we want. So before we add the dart, I'm going to tweak this straight edge at the bottom here. Just give it a little curve to even, just trying to further even out this bottom line here, the way it hangs. And just a tweak does the job. So first, split the edge there. Could just go for a uniform split here. Split it 3 times, so 2 points contain the line, and the third center point will be the tip of the dart. Just drag that sucker up, grab it, and pull it up. And you'll notice that our dart has a bit of curve. These lines are curved. That's easily fixed. Just delete curve points on those particular edges, and Bob's your auntie. Cool. Now stitch them up and hit the sim button. Yeah, it's getting a little better. You can see it's pulled the top end a little bit around her torso, which is good, around her rib cage there. Still a bit of a beak. Now, FYI, maybe the obvious way to get rid of that beak might be to actually split the center lines here, but I don't want to do that because we can pull out the bottom pieces. but I'd rather solve it with these darts because I want to add a zipper later, and the zipper is going to work better with a straight edge. So instead I'm going to play with these darts a little bit, just see if I can get better results from these alone. Yeah, okay, so not perfect, but much better. I think that will work for our purposes. And we shall move on to the sleeve. Alright, now for the sleeve. So the first thing we'll want to do is create another rectangle, approximately the length of our arm. You know, we can just kind of guesstimate that for now. And once we have that, we're going to switch back to the torso and measure. If you click, notice if you click on any line segment, it gives you the length. So we are measuring the dimensions of our armhole. So we're measuring the sleeve hole. And we get a combined length of 507 millimeters with some change. So we will now select the line segment for the top of our sleeve around the shoulder here. Using the both option, we can set its length to 507 millimeters, and there you go, you get that monstrosity. Okay, now our sleeve needs to be two segments. It needs to stitch the top of the shoulder, so we'll split this line. We'll do a test sim, see what that looks like. Yeah, a bit ugly under the armpit. You can see the problem because the edges are straight and then they're trying to meet up with these curved edges here. You're going to get this ugly pinching, but not to worry because we're not finished yet. We're now going to, using our example patterns once again as a guide, we're going to pull the center point up, and that being the tip of the shoulder, and convert to curved points. So now we've taken those straight edges and converted into one curve, but now it's a single curve, so we'll split it again to recreate the point that has to stitch into the top of the shoulder. We're now going to use that new tool. This is what we call the edit curve point, and it actually adds a point to the line segment there. But this point is not the same as the regular sewing points. It's only for the purposes of the curve. It is not a stitch point, so that's fine. So by adding extra curve points, it enables us to make this more sophisticated shape here. Okay, a bit of a quick kind of time lapse of me tweaking with these curves until I'm happy with them. And once we are, the final step here is going to be just to correct the length of these line segments on the shoulder here so that they match the armhole on the torso. And let's do that. So using the start and end options on the set length tool so that we keep our shape symmetrical. And once that's done, stitching of the new segments into the torso, and we run the sim, and voila! All that's left to do now is just mirror this thing. So I like to cheat sometimes, and in this case I thought to mirror the sleeve, I would just mirror the sim sleeve and place it by hand on the other side, stitch it into place and on the sim, and that worked quite fine. And there you go. This will be, I think this is a good stopping point for this jacket. I am going to pick it up in another video, and we'll finish up with adding some zippers and internal lines and some buttons, some cool details to really kind of make it a much more sophisticated little jacket. Right, off we go. So my plan, ladies and gentlemen, for the next month or so is just to knock this model out. I honestly don't think there's much more to do in the background there, so I think I can get her done and record my progress, and that should, get me into next month, and I'll be able to knock out the rest of the videos for this lady in rapid succession. Anyway, that's the goal. I'll do my best, and thank you for your patience, and please subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Thank you very much. Ciao.